Hi, my name is Nettie.
And I'm Rosanna, and today we're going to be making some spun cotton spring ornaments. I'm going to show you how to make this kind of hollow egg.
And I'm going to show you how to make the spun cotton chick that goes in it.
Okay, so these are what we ended up with after making yesterday, and we'll go through the process now. So for supplies, I'm going to try to do this really fast. This is natural cotton. This is in the supply kit that I have in my shop. I think that's really pretty to put inside your egg. This one I just left fluffy inside, but you could add a little I've got this wool sliver, which is like cotton sliver, which is like a cotton roving. That works really well for forming the eggshell. You can also use cotton balls as usual. That works fine. It will be a tiny bit lumpier. It's harder to get a really smooth finish. That's the difference. This is the sliver. This is the cotton ball. So, I mean, I do try to get it fairly smooth, but it's just quite a lot harder to get it very, very smooth. But I think that the lumpy look is fine. It's kind of charming. Foil is what Nettie used for the base of her chick, but it's so small you can definitely just wrap with cotton. You wouldn't need the foil. Paper covered wire for the little legs if you're making a chick, scissors, glue, school glue, and water. The way I make my little eggshell form is by using plastic Easter eggs. You can also, I've heard, use a water balloon like you would if you were making like a paper mache kind of sphere. You blow up the balloon to whatever size you want and then cover it. So you could do the same thing, you know, and then use your cotton instead of paper mache. But I use the egg and that works fine for me. Then like if you have any vintage flowers, or I have a tutorial for how to make fabric flowers. And then for inside your egg, we're showing you how to make a little spun cotton chick today that Nettie will take you through. But you could definitely use like the little, this is not, the vintage ones are probably cuter. This is one that I just grabbed out of Nettie's toys, but if you have a little pom-pom chick, you could put that in there. These are some of those kind of vintage butterflies. They used to make bees that were kind of like this, maybe out of pipe cleaners, I think. You know, any flowers you have. I thought a cake looks cute in there. If I had a tiny house or a little, I'm working on some cotton bunnies, but if you had a little rabbit figurine. And then for inside the egg, you could use natural sphagnum moss, cotton fiber, like I said, or a little bit of any kind of Easter grass that you like, or you know, there's always like tons of possibilities that I don't think of, but that's kind of the basics, and from there it's kind of up to you, but that's what the very minimum that you would need for this, as well as watercolor paints or acrylic craft paint like Folk Art brand or something like that is what I prefer to use, and that should be enough to get going.
Hi everyone, my name is Nettie, and today I'm going to show you how to make a little chick, and my mom's going to show you how to make an eggshell to put the chick in. So here we go. Let's do it.
This is one she made a couple days ago. All right, I'm gonna let you go.
Okay, so you can use two kinds of cotton balls, or this lighter kind of cotton. I prefer the lighter kind, but you can do either one you want. It's fine. And here's a little twist tie thing that I bent before the video.
It's just a small piece of paper covered wire. That's gonna be the legs, and Nettie's you're gonna wrap foil around that, right?
Mm-hmm. You don't have to use the foil part, but it makes it easier for me because I just started spinning cotton like a few, maybe
months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're gonna kind of try to mold it into something that looks kind of like a chick, but not really. Kind like that. And now I'm going to start to try to make its head. Take a little foil off. Make a head shape.
Okay, is it going to stick together or do we need to put a little tape on it?
I think we should do tape.
So you don't have to use the tape with something this small. Sometimes if I'm doing a larger armature, I cover the whole thing in tape because I think the cotton sticks better to the tape than it does just foil. But when it's something this small, you can usually get away with it. But we are adding a little tape because Nettie's little pieces of foil didn't really want to stick together very well.
You can add like as much tape as you want because no one's actually going to see this part. Now I'm going to take my glue brush, just put a little bit, like a thin layer of glue on it. That makes the cotton stick better. Now I'm going to take my chosen cotton, just a little. Then you can either use a brush or your fingers. And then I just brush it down and it kind of like disappears. It's like magic. That's why I love spinning cotton, because it's like a magic form of expressing yourself, and it should be wet enough that the next layer of cotton just kind of sticks to it without any glue necessary. But there are a few loose bits here, so I'm just going to brush them down to be safe. Now I'm going to take a little bit more than the last few times. And we're gonna need to do a lot of layers, so I'll get back to you later.
Should I just put it on, should we do like a hyperlapse?
Yeah, let's do hyperlapse. Here we go.
Okay.
So as you can see, our chick is baked. Well, not a chick yet, but it's going to be a chick. Now, we've made the wings out of fabric, but you can use cotton or paper. We've also made the beak, but it's really easy to make with cotton. You just kind of do this and make a beak before you bake it. You can paint the eyes on, or you can use little black or any color beads like we've did. And Mom's going to help me hot glue these little parts on. And if you're a kid watching this, which you probably aren't, but if you are, if you want to try this craft, make sure when you're hot gluing you have help and supervision from an adult. Hot glue, when used inappropriately, can be very dangerous.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the chick.
Very good. Do you want to start with the wings, eyes, or beak?
I'm gonna start with the eyes because they seem pretty easy.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let you do it, okay?
Okay.
We have a low temp glue gun, so it's not very easy to burn yourself on it.
So, I'm just gonna stick this eye on, tiny drop of glue.
Okay, let's smush it on. We're gonna add a little cotton around it, okay? So there's one eye. I'm gonna put on the other, then we'll put cotton around it to stick it on a little better. You're gonna add, okay. And this is for the other eye. Got that one. Okay. There's the little Google eyes.
And it's fine if it looks kind of messy when you do it, because I think that just makes it look really cute and antique. I say the tackier the better.
Yeah, and you could make them like the little pom-pom chicks if you had googly eyes. Do you want to do the beak now? Okay, so maybe we'll put a little dab right on the, should we put it right here on the paper and then you can place it where you want? Anyway, the actual little Google eyes would look very cute. And you could just make a very round.
And once it dries, you can actually open the beak and then shed it.
So we're gonna add cotton around the eyes and beak to hold them on a little better.
And I'm just going to pull off a little cotton, just
And
a very little.
let's go ahead and glue our wings on too, and that way we can put cotton around everything. But I don't know how big you want like how do you want your wings to, do you want them to stick out? Do you want them to go down?
Go down.
Okay, should I make them a little smaller? Because I feel like they're big for your chick.
Yeah.
I cut these, so I think I cut them too large.
Yeah, because she's made some pretty big chicks.
Yeah, that's a bigger one, isn't it?
Which hasn't been painted yet, but it already looks adorable.
Okay, that's a little better size. I think I'll let you glue on your wings, and then we'll add a little cotton around everything too.
Oh, and if you're wondering, why I don't have my shirt on anymore, don't worry, I'm not naked. I just have my leotard on because I go to gymnastics.
Yeah, we had a costume change, which isn't very noticeable since you can only see our hands, but in case you notice that Nettie's shirt sleeves aren't here anymore. You getting that?
Mm-hmm. If you have a quick dry glue gun that you'd want to try to stick the parts on as quick as possible.
That's the problem with low temperature glue guns, is sometimes your glue sets up before you get your things in place. Okay. I want the other one here. Okay.
Click, click, click.
Okay. Is this one the direction you want it?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Okay. Now we will add just a thin layer of cotton to kind of give some extra, I don't know, like adhesion for the eyes. Because see, I knocked it off. Okay, we're gonna put our eye back on, then we're gonna add cotton. Okay.
So we put some cotton around our chick's eyes, that way they won't fall off. And now I think we're going to dry it a little bit more.
You can just paint it now. And then we'll dry it after it's painted.
So I'm not going to make it look exactly like this one. I'm just going to paint.
This is some yellow too. There's different shades. Okay. This is very lemony, and these are more kind of goldenrod color.
I'm just going to put a little bit of this with some lemon yellow.
To hold a little bit, yeah. Try to stay over that board, and then you're still in the frame. And you're using watercolor, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that makes a really nice chick color. Just a little bit of this yellow mixed with this lighter yellow.
And the cotton is wet, so we're painting while the fibers are wet. But you can also paint when it's dry if you prefer that. We use a toaster oven to dry things most of the time, but we get questions about whether you can just air dry, and you can just air dry. It will just take longer. I mean, when we use the toaster oven, like a little chick like this takes 5 or 10 minutes. If you air dry, it might take overnight if it's kind of cool and dampish in your house. And if it's a larger piece, it might take like a whole day, or sometimes a few days if it's very humid. But the reason I think it's good to make sure that you actually have it dry between layers is you wouldn't want to trap any moisture inside your piece. And I don't know, I haven't like seen any evidence of this happening, but my concern would just be that it's, you know, that it was kind of like molding from the inside out.
Which is the orange?
There's some orangey browns, but you might, I mean, if you want orange, you might have to make it. Like these are kind of reddish orangey browns.
And I'm just going to carefully.
Oh, for the beak, yeah.
Paint the beak very carefully. Oh,
that's okay. We can just add a little yellow there. We can also paint the beak once it's dry.
And now I'm going to use this light yellow, a bunch of this light yellow to paint the wings. Because I just think that the wings would work better if they had a lighter color. But that's only my opinion. It's your trick. You can do like whatever. Maybe add some spots, markings.
Mm-hmm.
Go wild, man. Are we going to add that one to the bloopers? We're still filming, right?
We're still filming, yes.
Oh.
I don't think we'll put it in the bloopers because it's going to be right in the main video. All right. Is your chick done, or you have something to add?
I'm just going to take...
Do you want any of the acrylic paint or just the watercolor?
Just the watercolor.
Because I have some different...
I'm going to make a little ring.
Because you could use white for that if you wanted to.
I mean spot around its eye.
Okay.
And now we're going to bake it again. So that's how you make a little cotton spun chick. And now my mom's going to show you how to make the eggshell that it goes in.
Mm-hmm. And then I'll have maybe Nettie come back and show you how the chick looks in its egg.
So I'm just reminding you all that this episode is sponsored by Nettie Makes and Bakes as soon as I'm old enough to have my own channel. So see you in 5 years.
Shameless self-promotion of a YouTube channel that does not exist yet. Okay, Nettie was born to be a vlogger.
Oh, Grandma's here.
Okay, I came up with this method for making kind of like a hollowed egg form last year because I was looking for paper mache eggs that were hollow inside. I thought I could just buy, you know, like a dozen of those and then put my little creations inside and save myself a step. And it turns out that most paper mache eggs now that you buy are formed around like a styrofoam or plastic form, and then they just put a few layers of paper on that and call it paper mache. And it's like, well, first of all, I kind of hate to buy something where it's like, oh, they use, you know, it's like unnecessary use of styrofoam and plastic, although like how do you get away from that? So anyway, I don't want to like, you know, we're all kind of trapped in this styrofoam plastic world. But anyway, and then the other reason was, well, for my purposes, it really needed to be hollow. So like I couldn't even use those anyway. So I was like, okay, I'll just try using my plastic eggs. Now you can see sometimes when I was drying them in my warm oven, some eggs held up better than others. This one, you know, and of course now I'm breathing in plastic, so be very careful if you decide to use a plastic egg and dry in the oven. Keep your oven temp very, very low as you can. Some of them hold, like this one has been in the oven like a million times and it's come out pretty well. Anyway, I'm going with just very low temperatures now so that I hopefully am not like putting all kinds of fumes into the air, but just that's something to note. And as I mentioned, you can definitely do it around like a little water balloon. I don't know how I don't know if you'll be able to get as eggy of a shape, but I don't know. I think that works. I've seen some people have shared their photos with me and I think they turned out well. So maybe you can do a little bit to manipulate that. I haven't ever used the balloon method. Anyway, this is my favorite little egg to use, and that gives this size. So you just keep in mind like what you end up with is going to be, you know, a degree or two larger than your original egg. Now, so you like if you're using something you already have for inside your egg, just make sure that you're going to have an egg that's big enough. Like I don't have an egg made that's really probably the right size for this little pom-pom chick. I thought that this kind of looked cute with a cake. I've done a little cake stand. I did that for Nettie's birthday last year because her birthday and Easter were so close together that I just made a little ornament like that. So this one was made around a larger, I think it was this egg. And I did this one a little bit more rustic. You can see inside the cotton is, I did like a thicker layer of cotton than I usually did, and it came out like, because I used the natural cotton fiber, it just, I don't know, it did this on its own, which I thought was really neat. So I'm probably going to use that to make a little snuggly nest for some little animal. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it's nice to have a variety of sizes of eggs. I don't have any of the jumbo size eggs, but you could definitely go very large if you want to. I just tend to like the small ones, and it is really hard to find mini plastic eggs in the stores. So I have been picking these up at thrift stores. So I have a little supply, although they're hideous colors, and someone wrote on them with permanent marker. Anyway, I'm just going to show you. I'll probably show you one with a cotton ball and one with this sliver, which, like I said, is in a little spun cotton starter kit in my shop. They both work fine. I just think this one does give a smoother finish if that is what you like. But again, like, you may not achieve that if you're just starting out working with spun cotton. It really might be beyond you for a little while until you get better at handling cotton and manipulating it. So I don't know that this is always worth it for people right at the beginning. Okay, this is my favorite little egg. I'm just gonna put a bit of my cotton and glue on the actual egg, and I only cover about half of it to start because I've tried covering more than that, and you just sometimes have to like destroy it to get it off of the egg. So it's better to just go with what you know you can get off later, and then I'll show you how you fill in the shape a little bit once it's off of the plastic egg. So just press down so you're not wanting to leave the cotton fluffy, you're just really compressing it down. If you don't press down hard enough when you go to take it off, your egg is maybe just going to tear apart or not hold together, or it will really wrinkle up and kind of lose its nice shape. Okay, and if I was doing this not for the camera and not trying to be speedy, I would be taking a little bit more time to make sure that my layers were going on very as evenly as I can get them with a cotton ball. It's not as easy to get the, like, cotton balls they aren't as even, they aren't as what is the word I'm looking for? As uniform, that's the word I was looking for, as like this roving. So you have to take your time to get a similar effect or finish, because you're gonna have to like patch in places where it's a little thinner and try to smooth those places where it's thicker. So this doesn't take much time, especially with a small egg. And you don't need to get this first layer perfect, because you're going to have to come in after you have this off of the egg and give a little bit more, like fill in a little bit more here so that it's not just like, that's what it would be like when you first pull it off. And you could use it like that, but I think it's better to add a little bit more to the front and or the bottom, front and sides, so that it holds things in a little better and is a little bit more like the old sugar eggs, although we're kind of doing this in a different orientation, because most of those were, you look in the end and we're looking in the side. But that was kind of the idea that I wanted with these, was a little bit like a sugar egg, which they do look like that, especially when you use some flowers on them. Okay, that's probably good enough to go in my little toaster oven. You can definitely air dry or put on a heating vent or whatever. It's just going to take, this is thin. This might be dry enough to pop off like overnight or by the end of the day if you're doing this in the morning. But I will dry it in my oven so I can show you how I get it off. This is the sliver, the roving. I will link where you can buy a pretty large quantity of it. You can find it other places, but I'll link where I get it. It's just cotton roving, or cotton sliver is what they call it on the website that I use, and it is what you use to spin cotton yarn. So if you were like someone who spins yarn, makes your own yarn, you could buy this and dye it, and then someone could crochet or knit a washcloth or something with it. So that's kind of why it's sold usually from where I find it is from. It's called the Woolery. Mostly they deal with wool fibers because it's for people who spin yarn, which is typically wool or a blend of wool, but they have other fibers like cotton. So if you're looking for it overseas, you might check out a wool supplier and see if they have cotton roving. And I have people ask, I have wool roving, can I just use that with this technique, because they don't want to do the needle felting with the needle. And I told people go ahead and experiment, but the thing about wool is that it's got lanolin, which is this greasy substance, which is really useful for the sheep and for people to use like in liniments and things, because it's water repellent, which means I don't think that you're going to have much success getting it to take the cotton glue mixture. I just think that water is going to repel right off of the fiber. But go ahead and try it. I'm interested to know if anyone has success doing that, and I suppose it might vary a little bit depending on the wool you have, or maybe even how you mix your glue. Possibly, if I don't know, I'm sure everything is usually possible somehow, but I don't think it would be the easiest thing to use wool fiber to do this. And the reason I started as a needle felter like 12 years ago maybe is when I got into needle felting. I think it was 2012 or 2013. I wanted to make a little mouse like I saw on Etsy, and so I bought the stuff to start needle felting. Anyway, I did that for quite a few years, and then I had been vegan in my diet for several years at least before I started to think about all the wool that I was using, and wonder where it was being raised and how those animals were. And I did for a while. I was like, okay, I'll just source it from like a small farmer, and I had a lady where I was sourcing, and I think she really did do a nice job keeping her animals, but I couldn't find everything that I would typically use from her, and I just thought, you know what, it'd just be simpler not to, let's just be sure. So I stopped needle felting, which was a big deal at the time because I did love it, and I had a lot of people who liked to buy my needle felting, and I was not sure, because needle felting was the first art form I ever really did. I was not a creative person before that, oddly enough. I didn't draw, I didn't do anything, and so it was scary to think, okay, now you got to figure out if you can be a creative person in a different medium, and you've only really been creative in this one medium. But I saw at a about that same time, I had a friend who was doing some spun cotton animals, which I had never seen spun cotton before. But when you see them, they give you, it's a similar look, similar feel to felted things. So when I saw those, I was like, well, maybe I should experiment with that a little bit. So I did, and I liked it. I don't know that I took as naturally to it. Needle felting came very, very naturally to me. I didn't really have to think about it very much. It was just like I could just sit down and something would just happen. Spun cotton, I would say my first attempts were a little rougher, but I did enjoy it, and I think spun cotton is a fun medium. So I've stuck with it, and I've branched out from there too into drawing and different things too. So I mean, I don't think it's bad when we have to get pushed out of, wherever we were, out of our comfort zone, to try new things, because usually we grow a lot and discover that we can do more things than we thought we could, and we might even like some of those new things better. So that's kind of quick little story of how I have come to spun cotton. And honestly, guys, I am enjoying teaching spun cotton, but I am thinking about branching into other things. Like, I have wanted to try clay forever. I just love it. I have friends who make amazing things. I'm thinking seriously about getting a small kiln and trying ceramics. So I will continue to do spun cotton, but I may be going into another phase again of the medium that I focus on. Anyway, here we go. You can see it is a lot more uniform, and you can do this, and really it can be very, very thin. It's really pretty because these ornaments, if I do the cotton thin enough, they just bring in so much, or let in so much light, and I think that's really beautiful, especially if you have a little twiggy Easter tree or something Easter morning. I think that would be beautiful with a bunch of these and the sun coming in, backlighting them. So anyway, that will go into the oven. Okay, out of the oven. Let's see how they come out. It's best with these, no matter how you dry them, not to take them out until you think the cotton is completely dry, or it kind of inside it just won't be smooth. You will have the cotton kind of roughed up, and you can smooth that down, but it'll be easier if you just make sure that it's completely dry, and that way it comes off clean. You can see there's a little spot there that I can hit with my brush and glue and make sure it's kind of firm, and I can feel there it's just slightly damp, so that's why making sure that it is quite dry is important. See if I can pop this. It's good to kind of loosen it a little bit if you can. And this one, see, I thought it was dry, but it wasn't. Okay, not perfect. So I'm just going to try not to fuss that too much, and I'm just going to smooth it out. And it is also, I can feel still damp, so it's just because I'm pushing a little bit to get this filmed before my light goes today. So ideally it would be dry, and you would end up with something pretty smooth that you don't have to mess with. If you're going to go with kind of the more natural look inside, then that's fine. You can just kind of leave that, or you can even add a little bit of cotton if you're going to go with the cotton inside. If you're going to gild it, I don't know if I'm going to show the painting today because I want to leave this video pretty quick, but I'll just show you what I use. I just have this metallic acrylic paint that you can use. I also have kind of like a gold dust, which I have a couple vials of this bronze powder and another that I don't even have a memory of. This just turned up like in, a box of something I got from an estate sale or something like that. I don't really know, but I use it. I use it for just brushing a little bit of gold onto different pieces, because it's just actual gold and no like real color. It's not as murky as the acrylic paint is. Anyway, I'm just going to show you how I would fill these in so that the opening is smaller. I guess I'll do my little cotton ball one first. I don't know if you can hear the piano, but Nettie is back from gymnastics and she is doing her practice right now. And then she's gonna come and help me put the eggs together at the end. So I just kind of get a little piece and I just attach it back to the dry cotton, and I just try to get it wet inside and out, and then you can just kind of take your fingers and shape it. Try to make sure I just use my cotton ball fiber and not the other stuff I've got here. So this is your preference. It doesn't work very well if you're using the plastic Easter eggs. It doesn't work. I don't know how you would get, I'm trying to think. I guess if you left this larger end open, you might be able to, no you couldn't because it's still smaller I think than the midpoint. So you could make an egg with like an end opening if you use a balloon, but I don't think you can do it successfully with the plastic Easter egg. But you can try, and maybe it's possible if you are I don't know, if you're smart about how you do it. I've had trouble getting some of my cotton eggs. When I was first doing it last year, there were a few that I really struggled to get off of the egg, so I've just kind of stuck with this way that I know they actually come off and that the shape stays fairly nice. I don't know if I'm gonna do a perfect opening or just, since I'm trying to be quick, I might just kind of leave it kind of a natural organic shape, which means very imperfect. You can do rough edges or you can really make them smooth and tapered. I just think that's a preference. Okay, I'm probably just gonna leave that for now because I know I'm gonna run out of time if I fuss too much on it. Okay, you can do a nicer job if you take a little more time than I did, but that'll work. Okay, so there's the cotton ball. Here's our longer kind of cotton roving egg. Just gonna try to tack that down inside. Okay, that looks fine. Okay, now add a little bit . This is an instance where I think using your fingers is easier than using the brush. Once you use the brush to kind of get your fibers wet, it's easier to really compress the fiber and shape it with your fingers, because you can press on both sides at once. That's why it's nice. So I suppose that's the difference in this situation, is we're working with a hollow object. So if this is difficult for you to handle as it gets wet again and soggy, you might have to do it in several parts. It's probably where again, where using a balloon would be easier. I don't think this is beyond what most people can do, but it might be a little frustrating for some of you. So if it's getting floppy and you're feeling frustrated, just let it dry again and come back. when it's set up and when you have another little supply of patience. Okay, I'm just going to try to shape this with my finger a little bit. Now I don't know, I probably won't since I'm trying to do this fast and just have something to show you, but you could add a little bit more. You could come in again with another layer once this dries and have a very small opening. It's really just, you know, whatever your vision is. But I'm going to put these in a little toaster, and then I'll quickly kind of show you the painting, or at least a little part of it, and then Nettie and I will put the eggs together. Nettie's back to help me paint, and what I've been using since I've had this new art room and I had all these samples of pink wall paint, I was like, these are really pretty colors. They're nicer pinks than what I can usually find when I'm buying craft paint. So I'm just using these samples I got at Sherwin-Williams for a lot of things. She's going to use this pink, which I think is actually, no, it's not. It's not the wall color, but it's a shade up. And then I've got this called abalone shell, and it's a very, very pale pink. So I'm going to do that for my eggs. So we're using acrylic paints, and we're just going to do a sped up painting because there's not a lot to it. You could paint these wet if you don't mind handling them when they're kind of floppy. I dried them out because I thought Nettie would have trouble handling it if it was really soggy and wet, but you could paint them wet.
I hope you had fun making these chicks with us. And we'll see you again soon. Bye!
So here's our outro, which unfortunately Nettie isn't here for. We tried last night, but it was too dark and we just were not able to get good footage and really appreciate the little chicks and their eggs. So here they are in full light. We showed a little of the painting process, but if you're wondering, I showed we used the acrylic paint samples from Sherwin-Williams for our pink eggs, and then we had this metallic folk art paint that we used. It's an antique gold color, and we used that for the edge. Then Nettie used some vintage milliner's flowers, and I made some fabric flowers. I have a tutorial that I'll link for those flowers. It's a quick one. I think I'm going to do kind of a refresh or an update on that because I have some new ways that I make flowers to look a little bit different than what I showed in that video. Ooh, they're rolling away. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this little mommy daughter make along, I guess, and maybe some of you will want to make with your kids or kids in your life or friends. Wishing you a happy spring, happy making. Thank you so much for being here, and I think I'm gonna include a little bit of footage of the Sweet Haven animals here at the end. So see you soon. forgot. I really meant to mention this in the video because I knew that people would ask. I had some really smart, clever people tip me off last time with the mouse video. I was having trouble with my camera focusing, and they were like, oh, it's because your background is a light color, just like, you know, the cotton, so it's having trouble picking up the right thing, so have a dark background. And so I was like, oh, I'll just put a board down for now for this one. And this is actually a stair tread out of my grandma's house. For those of you who know that my grandma's house, we salvaged a bunch of stuff out of it because it's going to be torn down. And on the back of this tread, the carpenter wrote, when you're old and feeble and cannot see, put on your spectacles and think of me. And then he signed it, Frank J. Bustandig, Burchard, Nebraska, 1908. So that's my very odd backdrop to this make-along, and I just thought I would add this in because I do know I will have questions in the comments about it. And then I thought I'd show you. I have a new shelf up in the studio, which is where I can kind of put my most recent work. So my little mice are there. They're kind of waiting to be featured in upcoming videos where we dress them. And then I'll show you over here, which is not done on this side, but I've got in this kind of secretary. You can see up there is my older work from quite a few years ago. And then in here I have little Tommy Tippy, who is my latest creation. So this I think I'm going to turn into a little mouse house because it kind of looks like a dollhouse setup. So I'll probably do that in some videos.